Welcome to Get Ripped Collectibles.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Get Ripped. It's College Football Pick'em Show Week 1. I am Miami Mike. We got Gator Dave here with me. This is our second run through of this show. We did one prior. It was about an hour and a half worth of fantastic, beautiful, high-quality detail content, and the sound didn't work for any of it. So here we are again. We are doing a shortened version of that. But if you're watching this, it is Thursday. We pre-recorded this. We are recording this Monday night. So we are not live this week, but we will be live next week for week 2. So make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe. Put the bell on. Get those notifications for when we go live next week. We will be live week 2, September 8th, Thursday at 7:30 p.m. But again, right now is a recording, and this is the second time, so I'm sorry for those watching. It is going to be a bit abbreviated compared to what the other version was, but again, the audio did not work. So here we are. Dave, welcome back, sir. How you doing?
Hey, thank you, Mike. Glad to be back. Very excited for this college football season and actually having some real games. Week 0 was it was kind of there, right? So, Scott Frost got to show his butt and get his way out the door, and now we're on to week 1, and very, very, very excited to be with you guys another year. Great year last year. We enjoyed it, and looking forward to 2022 football season. So,
right on.
Kicking it off.
All right, so we're kicking it off.
Thursday night, 7:30.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Thursday night game. We're going to lead it off here with a 7 o'clock kickoff Eastern time. It's the Backyard Brawl back in action once again. We're going to release this video actually a little bit earlier this Thursday, so it should come out about 6:30. Give some people time to watch this video, watch this quick segment, see if you can't get something in time. The rest you'll have plenty of time for. But we're going to try to hook you up with a little bit of time there. So, Gator Dave, lead us off with West Virginia Pitt. Again, don't go. You don't have to go, extremely into depth on any of these. We can just give the quick couple bullet points and why you think that is, and what do you got? Who you got in the Backyard Brawl?
So West Virginia Pitt. This game's coming back. It used to be one of the old day games. Now it's back. So the big news here is West Virginia has their secret weapon. JT Daniels, the 1970s mustache porn flick dude, is now ported over from Georgia to West Virginia. So giving some folks up there some hope. Graham Harrell now the OC at West Virginia. So obviously things will be changing on the offense in West Virginia. A lot of folks in West Virginia think it's the second coming, but we'll see. Pittsburgh coming in, very successful season last year at 11-3. Kenny Pickett's out, and Jordan Addison's out, but they still come in ranked 17th. Kenneth Slovis comes over from USC as the quarterback. And he's an okay guy, a bit of an interception machine, but they do return 5 starters on the offensive line. Defense is solid, second in SBS in sacks, so look for them to have another tough defense this year in Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's strong here. They're playing at Pittsburgh. Mike, I'm going to call this one start of the season as a Gator Dave lock.
A Gator Dave lock for Pittsburgh. I'm actually, if I had to pick a team here, I'd probably rock with Pittsburgh with you. But seeing how it is a rivalry game, seeing how they do have experience in the trenches coming back on both sides of the ball, I think it's going to be a defensive struggle at first. You got new quarterbacks on both sides as well, trying to learn that system and get comfortable with it. I think I like the under here. Personally, it's under 54. I think that's the way to go on my end, but if I'm with you, I'd have to go Pittsburgh as well if I had to pick a side. So that's it for the first one. Let's rock down to next one we're going to talk about is Liberty Southern Miss. Liberty Southern Miss. I love Liberty in this game. This is a game that I think Liberty is going to handle them pretty solidly. Their quarterback, they did lose Malik Willis. They lost some other key pieces on the team. However, they are basically retooling. Hugh Freeze went to the transfer portal with Den, did his thing, got a bunch of studs to come in who were having issues elsewhere. One of those studs who was a high recruit when he first came into school was Corey Brewer. He's their new quarterback, old Utah and Baylor quarterback. I expect big things from Liberty this year. By big things, I mean at least 8-9 wins. That starts here with Southern Miss. Southern Miss is not there yet. I think it's going to take a couple years recruiting class-wise to get back to where they need to be. It is at Southern Miss. Liberty is minus 3.5, so they're favored by 3.5. I think Liberty smashes them here. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I'm with you too, Mike. I mean, Liberty's, strong team, 8-5. Last year they did lose Malik Willis, but have Charlie Brewer in now. 11 players from the portal. Southern Miss 3-9 last year. 18 points a game they scored. They've got 5 quarterbacks, and they don't even know who their quarterback's going to be. So this is still a mess, in my opinion. And I got to call this one another Gator Dave lock and Liberty in those 3.5 points.
All right, right on. Another Gator Dave lock. I love to hear it. Next game we're going to get into, we're going to go to the Big Ten here. We're going to talk Illinois versus Indiana. Personally, I love Illinois in this game. I'm very curious to hear what Gator Dave has to say about it, but I think Brett Bielema is going to have these guys ready. This is going to be their second game of the year. They did play in week 0 last week against Wyoming at home, handled them pretty well, 38-6, held their quarterback to 5 of 20 passing, just 30 yards. That's insane. Now, granted, he did run for 70, 80 yards. He is a dual threat, and they did try to run the ball. They did run the ball pretty well. They averaged about 4 or 5 yards a carry, but it didn't really matter. They got absolutely handled. I think it's going to happen again for Illinois. I think they're going to handle Indiana this time. Indiana lost their quarterback, Michael Penix, to Washington. He transferred out there. I think we're going to see the Indiana team that we were used to seeing for many years. I think they sort of revert back to that. Now, granted, they could turn that around. They have a couple good guys coming in this next recruiting class, so they could, see that 8-9 win season like they did a couple years ago again soon. This year, I don't think it's going to be it. I have Illinois winning this game. I think they handle them pretty well, and they are the underdog going into Indiana. So sprinkle a little on the money line. I think they actually win it outright. I think I'm going to take them Illinois money line here. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, well, so I'm going to have to go the other way, but let's talk about it just a little bit. Illinois comes in returning 11 starters. Again, neither one of these teams are ranked. Illinois has Brent Bielema, who's been okay here and there. Illinois did have a good game, but, you got to look at the competition they were playing. There wasn't much to it. Indiana returns 11 players. I think the key to Indiana and winning this game are two things. One, I think it comes down to the fact that they're playing at Indiana, and both these teams, in my opinion, are the bottom of the barrel of the Big Ten. But I think the trump card here is going to be Connor Bazelak from, the transfer in from Missouri. I like that kid. 65% completion rate, 2,500 yards. I mean, it's pretty respectable. Granted, I got the playing game, but they're playing at home. They're fired up, and I think this one's going to be I'll go with Indiana and the 3.5.
All right, first showdown game. I love it. Yeah, speaking of transfer quarterbacks, Illinois got a nice one too, and Tommy DeVito got him from Syracuse. He is a playmaker. It'll be a good game. Looking forward to that one.
What league did he come from?
The league, your favorite league, actually. It's a great transition piece. Thank you for that, Gator Dave. The next league that we are going to be discussing is the ACC. First game in that league is actually Tommy DeVito's old team. We're going to Syracuse. We're going to the Carrier Dome. It's Louisville at Syracuse. Dino Babers, Syracuse head coach, is on the hot seat. I like him a lot. I know Gator Dave does too. But that man's got to produce, unfortunately. He's had a rough couple years these last couple years. I don't think he's going to last past this year, unfortunately for him. And that starts at week 1 here with Louisville coming to visit. Louisville is only a 4-point favorite here. They got a lot of key pieces coming back, a lot of speed. Malik Cunningham at quarterback is a dual threat. A lot of people have him as a dark horse Heisman contender. He could put up numbers. I have Louisville winning about 9 games this year, and I think it starts week 1. What do you think, Dave?
So I'm definitely with you here in the long run, Mike. Louisville comes back with 14 starters, a nice quarterback in Malik Cunningham. They got 7 players out of the portal. Jalen Mitchell comes back, running back at 722 yards, and they brought in a transfer from Tennessee as well to help in that backfield. Syracuse 5-7 last year. I'm only projecting the Orangemen to win 4 games, and this isn't one of them. So I just don't see it happening with the talent they've got. Granted, they're playing in Syracuse, 3.5 points. I think Louisville is the team to watch in the next couple of years in the ACC, and they start to get it rolling this year. So I'm going with Louisville in those and the points as well.
I like it. We're on the same page this year, Gator Dave. It's a good sign.
We are.
Next one we're going to discuss here is NC State at East Carolina. I don't even think there's too much to talk about here. NC State's favored by 9.5. I think that's easy money. I think they could easily win by 20, 30 points in this game. NC State's offense is lethal. Devin Leary at quarterback is lethal. Their defense is lethal. Top 5, probably in the country this year, at least top 10. They're going to be studs. They got something to prove. They have a high chance of winning the ACC this year. That doesn't happen if they don't handle business here week 1 against East Carolina. It is at East Carolina. I really don't think that's going to play a factor at all. I look for NC State to blow the Pirates out like 41-13 kind of deal. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I'm real high on NC State this year, and I'll give everybody a side bet that's going to Vegas with Miami Mike and Public House, and that is, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it might be a nice bet to bet NC State winning the ACC. So,
interesting.
But in this particular situation, again, they come in ranked 20th, 17 returning starters, Devin Leary stud, Dave Doran, it's his year. They've got a great defense. I think everything's coming together, and East Carolina is just standing in the way to be the whipping post to start the thing off and be like a preseason game big time for this team. So yep. I think they go out and prove it, and they blow the doors off in that 11.5. Nothing to it. And I'll call this one another Gator Dave lock and NC State.
Love to hear it. So the next one we got here is North Carolina App State. Now this one I think we will not be on the same page of, if I remember correctly. I was not impressed at all in that game that we watched this past weekend. We watched it together. North Carolina played FAMU and looked bad on defense. Jeremy Musa, the quarterback there, I mean, he did whatever he wanted to do against North Carolina. They put up 24 points. They were right there with them within the first half, and then North Carolina sort of had a couple quick plays in the second half and kind of broke away. They were favored by 45. Did not cover. And those DBs got absolutely torched. They're playing a team in App State who is very, very hungry right now. They've got some key guys returning. Their quarterback, Chase Bryce, he's been in college for what feels like a decade now. He was at Clemson to begin with, then he was at Duke. Now he's here with App State. They got Cameron Peoples coming back at running back. He is an absolute stud. I think App State can give them a run for their money here. I'm kind of, tempted to look at the over as the play based off of who App State has brought back on defense. It wasn't too many, and how North Carolina's defense looked in week 1. I think App State will be able to expose some of that. I think they'll be ready for them. It's an in-state rivalry game. Last time they played each other, App State won in 2019. They won 34-31. I like App State here for the upset at home against Big Brother North Carolina. I'm probably not going to get to the window on it, but if that's a game that I had to take, that's the side that I would probably go on, and I would lean towards the over. What do you think, Dave?
Yep. So I'm going the opposite direction here. I know it wasn't a great showing, but UNC did lose Sam Howell. Drake May had an okay game, 294 yards, 78% completions. Carolina did give up 24 points to a dismal team, and I'm kind of with Mike on that over in this particular game. I think the key and why I don't pick App State here is their loss of players on defense and the loss of their 3 top receivers. That's a lot taken away from a team that is not at the in that Power 5 area. If they were a Power 5 team, it might be different, a little bit easier place, but they are playing a Power 5 team, and I think the loss of the 3 receivers and what they've lost on defense is going to give UNC, granted, they're not going to go out there and look pretty, but I think UNC can win by a field goal or a touchdown in this particular situation and definitely win that game.
Yeah, I mean, I ultimately agree. But that's why I think I probably won't even get to the window on that one. I think that one's a strong maybe for me at this point. Let's take it to the Big Ten real quick before we head south to your conference. Penn State, Purdue. I know you're super high on Purdue this year, so why don't you lead us off with this one? What do you got?
Yeah, so just to give, this is going to be another one of my bets to go to Vegas with Miami Mike and Public House, and I think Purdue, as I said in the show last week, I think Purdue's going to win the Big Ten West. And in this particular situation, when we look at these two teams, Penn State only returning 8 starters from a 7-6 team. Granted, they have their okay quarterback in Sean Clifford, but that guy's like a roller coaster if I've ever seen him. Penn State's running game from last year, 115th in FBS, 98th in pass. I mean, that's pretty damn dismal for a team like Penn State in terms of offense. Penn State's defense is pretty good. Great in the red zone, 3rd best in the land in terms of red zone defense. But Purdue comes in playing in West Lafayette. 15 starters coming back from a 9-4 season. Boilermakers, Aiden O'Connell, 72% completion rate, 3,700 yards, 28 TDs. They did lose their wideout, David Bell, to the NFL, but I just think it's their time. I think it's their time to win that West, and I think this is going to show us what's going to happen, and they're going to make it happen there in West Lafayette, and definitely going to take Purdue in this particular game.
Right on. Yeah, I was leaning Penn State. I'm pretty high on Penn State this year. Again, high for me with them is 8-9 wins. Not like your 10 wins with Purdue, but you make a compelling argument for Purdue, sir. I will tell you that. I'm probably not going to get to the window on either side of this game. If I had to take one, it would be probably the Penn State side. But I'm going to stay away and just send Gator Dave good vibes on that money line victory for Purdue. So that's the side that we're gonna lean towards here. Next game we're going to discuss is the last one in the Big Ten that we will go over here week 1. It's going to be Notre Dame at Ohio State. I think Ohio State's going to be one of the best teams in the country this year. I think that they're going to make the championship game. I think that C.J. Stroud is going to win the Heisman. I am super, super, super high on Ohio State this year. But in this game, I think Notre Dame covers. I think Ohio State wins, but I think Notre Dame covers. Ohio State struggles in these opening games, these early games against big teams. For whatever reason, they've done it these last couple years, like last year with Oregon at home where they lost. I think this is a game that Notre Dame can catch them sleeping. Marcus Freeman is their DC, who's now their head coach when Brian Kelly left them last year. They still have the same OC, Tommy Rees, at Notre Dame. So they have that continuity of DC, OC still moving forward. It's the same, they know what they're getting. And they're fired up, man. They're fired up to see Freeman as their head coach. They're fired up to play for him. I don't know. 17 points is a lot of points. I think, again, Ohio State wins. I think Ohio State wins probably by 1 or 2 scores. But I think Notre Dame does cover that 17.5. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I'm 1,000% with you on this one. We're spot on, thinking exactly the same, that we both love Ohio State. But it is the first game, and we know they struggled in first games in the past. They've got Heisman, our Heisman pick in Stroud, best wide receivers in the country, and we've got them going to the final game. But I think Notre Dame is, this is kind of a rah-rah game for them. And these guys love Marcus Freeman. I mean, I think that was a great move for them. And to get, Kelly out of there, I think they've got, a nice road ahead of them. I like this young coach, Marcus Freeman. And, again, you've got the continuity with the same OC from last year. I think they'll hang on long enough to keep it under, 17.5. So I'm going Notre Dame as well.
Right on. Love to hear it. On to the SEC. We got 4 games here, and then we're going to talk 2 surprise games that I'm going to throw at you, Gator Dave, and then we're going to wrap up week 1. First game we're going to talk about here is Cincinnati, Arkansas. Cincinnati, Arkansas. I'm leaning Arkansas here. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think Cincinnati is going to come to play, but I love what Arkansas is doing. I love the head coach, Pittman. I think he fits that program very well. KJ Jefferson at quarterback, I'm a big, big fan of his. And I think it's just going to be too many pieces that Cincinnati's going to have to replace from last year. I think it's going to be too tough. Week 1, on the road, SEC opponent. So I'm going Arkansas here. I'm nervous about it. I'm not super high on it, but that's the side that I'm taking. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I'm a little more confident, I think, than you are, Mike. I'm with you. Cincinnati losing Desmond Ritter, it was huge. They've got their O-line back, but they've only got 4 guys from that great defense they had last year. And again, you go back to the recruiting at Power 5 and Group of 5, they just don't recruit the same. So it's a little bit harder to get that good talent coming back in. And losing that many folks on the D is going to be tough on them. Arkansas, KJ Jefferson back like we talked about. And they've got running backs, a couple of great running backs that had 600 yards each. And I just think it's going to be too much. And again, I think that coach is just, he's perfect for Arkansas. So, and I've got Arkansas coming in second in the SEC West. So this is definitely a game that I think they're going to win. And 6 points right now. I think they win by 10 or 14, in my opinion, at this point. So Arkansas on this one.
Wow. All right. Right on. Next game we're going to talk is Oregon, Georgia. I have a feeling where you're going to go, where your loyalties lie on this one, but I actually like Oregon. I like Oregon in the points in this one as well, plus 17.5. The game is being played in Atlanta, which Georgia has, for whatever reason, seemed to struggle with, even though it's pretty close to their home campus. Oregon, I think, is going to come ready to play. Their new head coach, Dan Lanning, used to be the DC at Georgia. So I think he's going to have an idea of, how Georgia is going to be preparing. So he'll be able to have a little bit of a game plan or a procedure on how he wants things to try to go to fit his direction, to fit his game plan. I don't think it's going to be a huge difference at the fact that he used to be a Georgia guy and he knows those sort of things. That's why I don't think Oregon ultimately wins this game. I think Georgia, wins, and they have a great season. Could go undefeated again. Could be the repeat national title holder. Not to mention contender, but I think it's Oregon's to cover here. They got Bo Nix. He's got experience. Dan Lanning has a little bit of experience of what he's getting into. They got Mario Cristobal's guys. I think it's 8 or 9 guys returning on offense, 8 or 9 guys returning on defense. So they're going to be ready to go. I expect Oregon to come out early and kind of contend with them in the first half, and then UGA to probably pull away and win by 14 in the second. But I like Oregon to cover here. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I'm going to go the other way. I know it's 17.5, but I don't have a lot of confidence in Oregon. Pac-12 is the Pac-12, and I don't think they're a strong conference. They do have 14 guys returning, and Lanning, defensive coordinator who was with Georgia before, and Bo Nix. Granted, Bo Nix is about to wrap things up, but he's just not that good. There's a reason why he left, and I just don't think he's that good a quarterback. The Dogs come in ranked 3rd. I think they're going to go undefeated till they get to Alabama in the SEC championship.
Yep.
Their defense was the best ever defense last year, and I'll bet money that their defense will be in the top 5 again this year, and they're going to shut Oregon's ass down. And I think that Bennett's going to look better than he did last year, just because he kind of got rid of the ghost, And granted, people still think he's not tall enough, he's not big enough, whatever. But I think in his mind, he's thinking, I won the national championship, I can do this.
Right.
And I think his stats are going to be better this year than they were last year. And Georgia's just loaded again, and I think they're going to kick the crap out of them. I think they're going to win by at least 3 touchdowns, if not more. So I'm definitely taking the Dogs in this one.
That's fair. Next game, we got your guys down in the swamp taking on the Utah Utes in a hot and humid, sticky night. They're calling for thunderstorms down there in Gainesville. I think this one's going to be a back and forth, down to the wire type of game, kind of who can make the least amount of mistakes, the least turnovers. Ultimately, I think Utah is going to get it done. I think they will win the game. I'm very high on Utah this year. But don't sleep on Florida. These guys are coming in with a chip on their shoulder. They're getting confidence behind Billy Napier. They got something to prove as well based off of, how they finished last year. Definitely look for Florida to come out swinging in this game. And I think it's going to matter if Utah can withstand those 4 quarters in that humidity, in that heat, in that hostile environment. Ultimately, I think they do. but I think it's going to be really, really, really good game. Dave, what do you think? I know you're going to be there, so I know I know you're excited about this one.
There. I'm fired up about being there. It's all the things that you said are absolutely true. I mean, I'm excited to be back in it with the Gators, and we're excited to have Billy Napier. Our recruiting is back where it needs to be. We sucked last year. We were 6-7. We fired our coach. Anthony Richardson has, he's got size, he's got strength. I think he's got the ability. If he can make good decisions and stay healthy, I think Florida's going to have a decent year this year. We do have some weaknesses. Our defensive line, that front defensive line, is going to have Gervin Dexter, and that's about it, with some no names. The no names are 4 stars. If they can do what they were recruited to do, we could get out of trouble there. One of the other things that's important to think about here is our offensive line has really been kind of our Achilles heel over the last number of years. This year, I think our offensive line is going to be one of our strongest positions. We brought in a guy that came from Napier, from Louisiana. His name's Osiris Torrance. He is a monster. He's already preseason All-American. Very excited about that offensive line and being able to block for some running backs that I think are pretty damn good too. Naquan Wright's coming back from an injury. Montrell Johnson came over from Louisiana as well. He was one of Napier's guys. He had 900 yards last year. And I know everyone knows who Travis Etienne is. Well, little brother Trevor, remember that name, Trevor Etienne, this year and into next year, because he's going to be a factor for the Gators. Defensive backfield, DBU is back. And it's back for a while if we keep our defensive backs coach, who is basically the GOAT when it comes to defensive backs coaches. And we got Marshall, who's probably going to be a first-round draft pick in the NFL draft next year. So feel very strongly about the defensive backfield. The questions that I've got are new coach, new offense, new defense, first game. A lot of question marks there for Florida fans. Obviously, we're very optimistic, but, there's still a lot of question marks as to what can happen. Can it all come together, especially in the first game, playing the 7th-ranked team in the nation, who returns 13 starters, who won the Pac-12, who a lot of people think are going to go undefeated, who could be fighting for, for the top 4 spots out there. It's going to be tough. And I just, because of all the question marks, if I'm putting my money down, I got to go with Utah in the 2.5 at this point. I think they can win by 3 points, and we're sunk. If they win by 3 points, it will be a victory for Utah, and if you could call it a moral victory, I guess you can take it. But at the same time, anything can happen with those screaming 90,000 fans and that hot as freaking hell swamp that I'll be sitting in on Saturday night.
That's right. Bring that energy. So we are going to wrap up the LSU, and we're going to wrap up our 12 games for week 1 with the final primetime game of the weekend. Florida State, LSU. They play in the Superdome in New Orleans. I like LSU in this game. I don't think Florida State is there yet. We watched them play Duquesne this past weekend. They looked good, but it's Duquesne. This is going to be their first real test. The benefit is, they got a game out of the way, so a lot of those jitters for some guys, it won't be as bad as they would have been, opening up with this game, like LSU will be against Florida State. But I think LSU is going to be ready to play. They got a lot of talent in. They got a lot of guys in the transfer portal. Jaden Daniels is, I think, going to be their guy at quarterback, and I think he's going to be able to make a lot of plays happen, being a dual threat that he is. I think LSU handles Florida State pretty well here. I could easily see it being a low-scoring game, 20-14 kind of deal. But I could also see LSU just blowing the brakes off them, and making it 38-13. And everybody in the Bayou is thinking that Brian Kelly is the next best thing in the world. I could totally see it going that way. That's the side that I'm predicting it. I'm on LSU. Dave, what say ye?
Yeah, I'm leaning that way too. Florida State put the whooping on the Dukes of Duquesne, but it was the Dukes of Duquesne. An FCS team.
Yep.
They bring back the 15 starters. They've got a quarterback that's been there a long time. But LSU comes in playing in the Caesars Superdome, no longer Mercedes-Benz, because beautiful Atlanta Arena has taken over Mercedes-Benz. Now it's a Caesars Superdome. LSU got loaded up on the portal. Obviously, they got Jaden Daniels, which Miami Mike talked about as a quarterback. They got 14 other kids out of the portal. So a kid named Jarek Bernard, four-star cornerback out of Oklahoma State, and four-star D lineman Mekhi Wingo out of Missouri. So he cherry-picked a couple of guys there. So, I think they're going to be okay. LSU, it is, in Louisiana. They're going to be fired up. I'm sure it's a night game. Is it not? So,
yep.
You know how sauce they get. So,
oh yeah, they'll be rowdy in the dome. It'll be loud.
It'll be loud. It'll be crazy, and I think LSU will have enough to get through it. I don't think they're gonna beat the crap out of FSU just because FSU got their practice game.
Right.
And LSU did not. So
I got you.
I think that's enough to keep it respectable with 7 to 10 point win. I mean, Florida State will probably think that that's some kind of moral victory if they only lose by 10,
right.
But not after you got a warm up game. So I'm gonna go LSU in this situation.
I like it. So now that is our 12, ladies and gentlemen. We are gonna do our 2 surprise games now. Dave, I'm going to throw these at you. Tell me what your thoughts are. Tulsa at Wyoming. What do you think? It doesn't have to be in depth. I am leaning Tulsa. I think Tulsa's going to handle them pretty easily. But tell me why you think.
One thing we talked about on the earlier broadcast was
the attempt number 1.
I lived in Tulsa for a few years and a little bit of knowledge there, and I think that, they come in with a stronger conference than the folks there at Wyoming. Wyoming's already got their butt kicked. Tulsa's just one of those steady Eddie programs that does okay in the AAC. They've been competitive off and on, and I think it's a great pick to take Tulsa in this particular situation. So I'm going Tulsa as well.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And then the last one we're going to discuss, last surprise game I'm going to throw at you, is going to be Boise State and Oregon State. I am on Boise State here. I think they got something to prove. They got second-year head coach. He used to be a player for Boise. He coached under Brian Harsin. He coached under Dan Hawkins. So he was under those, good Boise State teams. He played for him. He's a 3-time WAC champion. Last year, they had 5 losses as a team, which is the most losses they've had as a program in 25 years. I think he's going to take that personally. I think he's going to have these guys ready to go. They got a bunch of dudes back, returning starters on both sides of the ball. Boise State is the underdog in this game. I think it's plus 5.5. I like them to cover, and I like them to potentially pull off the upset over Oregon State. What do you think?
I have had a little bit of time since the first
here we go.
taping.
Here we go.
And I got a chance to look at my projections because you spring these things on me, and I
Yes,
got a
I
chance
do.
to look at my projections for Oregon State, and I had them at 5-7.
Okay.
And one of their 5 games I had them winning was Boise. So I'm going to have to
Ooh.
call this one a showdown game, Mike, and take Oregon State.
Ooh. All right. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. Got a good amount of showdown games. Got a good amount of games that we're on together. Let's go ahead now, and I'm going to put up the recap up on the screen, and we're just going to run through these games really quick one more time. So Dave has Pittsburgh -6.5 in the backyard brawl against West Virginia. I have Pitt, West Virginia under 52. We are both on Liberty money line against Southern Miss. He is on Indiana money line. I am on Illinois +3 in that game. I think Illinois could get the outright victory. We are both on Louisville money line against Syracuse, and we are both on NC State -9.5 versus East Carolina. Then Dave has North Carolina over App State. I have App State money line. I think they're going to get it done, but take the +3 if you're feeling, little queasy on it. I understand. Also, we're just looking at the over there, App State UNC. Purdue, Penn State. Dave has Purdue. I have Penn State. We had a little bit of a showdown there. Next game, we're both on the same page. Notre Dame +17.5 against Ohio State. We're both on the same page. The next one, Arkansas versus Cincy. We're both on Arkansas -6.5. Next one, Dave is on Georgia -16.5. I'm on Oregon +17.5. And then the last 2 games, we are on the same page with both of them. Although we are a little nervous about one of them. We both did take Utah money line against those Gators, but hey, there's always a chance. And then number 2 is LSU. We both took the money line against those people in Tallahassee. Gator Dave, attempt number 2 was a success, we hope. We won't know until we end it and we play it back to find out truly, but my fingers and toes are crossed for that.
I think it sounds much better. There's no interference that we had before, so I think we are.
Don't jinx it now, Dave.
We're gonna be successful. I have confidence in you, Mike. It sounds good.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it, sir.
It sounds good, and good luck to you in Public House in Vegas over the next few days.
Thank you. Likewise. We'll get some stuff in for you. Hopefully, we can fly some winning championship banners coming out of there.
Absolutely, and my other pick we didn't talk about was I have Baylor winning the Big 12, and I also have the Braves going to the World Series. So a little bit of a homer there, but
it is.
But I'm not quite the homer when I make my bets. I'm a little bit more analytical. So.
Hey, as people can tell by the Utah bet, right?
Absolutely.
Gotta be realistic.
Absolutely.
It's for the people.
Absolutely.
All right, Dave. Anything else more that you'd like to add, sir, for week 1?
No, looking forward to it. I'm excited to be down in the swamp live and in person there for that particular game. Excited about 2022. Lots going on. I think, you guys saw our other show. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities out there. I think you never know with college football. I mean, the guys that make the big bucks, if they can hit 60% right, they're good. I know Mike's real confident in his Miami Hurricanes, but he was at the beginning of the last year, as you guys know.
Things are a little different now, Dave.
We'll see where things go with our new coaches there, Miami Mike.
That's right.
But looking forward to it for sure. And looking forward to our listeners and everybody coming in our live show next Thursday.
Yep.
You know, if you guys can get on, we'd love to hear your questions, comments, all kinds of cool stuff like that. We're excited for the season and our pick'em show for Mike.
Oh, yeah. Thursday the 8th, 7:30 p.m., live on YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe again. Put the bell on for the notifications so you don't forget, so you get that reminder. And, yeah, I'm looking forward to a great season, Dave. It's going to be fun.
It absolutely is, Mike. And you guys have safe travels, and go Gators!
All right, sir. I appreciate you as always. Until next time, go Canes, baby.